Today, we will explore various aspects of Comanche history and culture. The Comanches were a powerful and feared tribe known for their ruthless raids, psychological warfare tactics, and mastery of horseback riding and battle. We will analyze the motivations behind their raids, the treatment of captives, brutal punishment methods, and the role of women in Comanche society. We will also delve into the decline of the tribe due to external pressures and internal conflicts. Comanche Chronicles: Unraveling the Warrior Legacy. The Comanche tribe, a powerful and feared group of 19th century Texas warriors, was known for their ruthless raids and brutal tactics, including scalp-taking and mutilation, which struck terror into their enemies. The Comanches mastered the art of psychological warfare and left behind mutilated bodies to ensure that the horror of their raids persisted long after their departure. They were revered for their prowess in battle and horsemanship, and their society centered around family units living in nomadic bands. Gender roles were well defined, with women responsible for domestic tasks and men as hunters and protectors. The warrior culture of the Comanches was deeply rooted in their beliefs and respect for the natural world, guided by a pantheon of spirits and supernatural beings. With their aggressive raids, the Comanches gained a reputation for ferocity and cruelty, expanding their territory and instilling fear in both Native American tribes and European settlers. Driving forces behind Comanche conquests. The Comanche people engaged in these acts for various reasons, including territorial expansion, resource acquisition, revenge, and asserting dominance over disputed territories. The expansion of their territory was driven by the need for new lands as their population grew, and hunting grounds became scarce. They competed with other tribes, such as the Apaches and Osages, for these territories, leading to frequent clashes. Acquiring resources, particularly horses, was another fundamental motivation for Comanche raids. Horses were highly valued for hunting, warfare, and transportation, and acquiring more horses bolstered their status as skilled warriors. They also sought to acquire weapons, goods, and captives during these raids. Revenge for past conflicts was a powerful motivator, as Comanche culture placed a strong emphasis on honor. Any perceived aggression against their people demanded retaliation. Long-standing disputes with rival tribes and European settlers fueled a cycle of violence that lasted for generations. The rivalry between the Comanches and the Apaches, in particular, originated in the early 18th century and persisted, with both sides seeking vengeance. The introduction of new technologies like firearms and the decline in the buffalo population ultimately led to the decline of Comanche power. Comanche captives: the fate of the fallen. During Comanche raids, both enemy combatants and non-combatants, including women and children, were taken captive. The treatment of these captives varied, depending on factors like the perceived value to the tribe and the circumstances of their capture. Women and children were often considered valuable assets and could be integrated into Comanche society through marriage or adoption. They would learn the language, customs, and way of life of the Comanches. Male captives, on the other hand, were viewed as potential threats and were often subjected to harsh treatment or forced into servile tasks. Slavery was another possible fate for captives who were deemed unsuitable for adoption. The perception of slavery among the Comanches differed from the European concept, as it was more fluid and could, at times, be earned through acts of bravery or loyalty to the tribe. Negotiations for the release of captives, whether for valuable goods or in exchange for other captives, also played a part in the captive experience of the Comanches. In the shadow of the Comanches: punishments and torments. The Comanches employed brutal methods of punishment and torture against their enemies. These methods, such as scalp-taking and mutilation, served as a means to assert their dominance and control over their rivals. They were also known to employ psychological abuse, using fear and intimidation to break the spirits of their captives. These practices were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a broader cycle of violence that characterized life on the frontier. Additionally, the role of women in Comanche society was multifaceted. They played a crucial role in the success of their tribe's war raids, as well as in the care and upbringing of their families. Women were responsible for maintaining the home, providing sustenance, and managing the tribe's horses. They also participated in acts of violence, including the torture and humiliation of captives. Comanche: women, strength, survival, and shadows of war. Women played a crucial role in Comanche society, contributing to the successful assimilation of captives and strengthening the tribe's social bonds. However, they also faced unique challenges and dangers due to their participation in the tribe's war raids. Women were not immune to violence and often suffered the same brutal punishments and tortures as their male counterparts when captured by enemy tribes or settlers. Notable figures like Huakea, the wife of Chief Juana Parker, demonstrated immense strength and determination even in the face of adversity. Defiant frontiers, resisting the Comanche onslaught. The fierce Comanche raids against neighboring tribes and settlers encountered determined resistance and retaliation. Other tribes formed alliances with each other and with European settlers and the US Army to defend themselves against the relentless Comanche attacks. Frontier settlers also faced the wrath of the Comanches and established fortified settlements and communication networks for protection. The establishment of forts by the US Army along the frontier acted as a barrier against Comanche aggression. There were several notable instances of resistance and retaliation against the Comanches, demonstrating the determination of both settlers and tribes to protect their lands and lives. Thundering hoofbeats and smoking cannons, European influence in Comanche warfare. The acquisition of horses revolutionized Comanche life, allowing them to hunt more efficiently and travel faster. However, it was the introduction of firearms that truly elevated their capacity for violence. Through trade with Spanish, French, and English traders, the Comanches quickly learned to wield these powerful weapons with deadly precision. With the combination of horses and firearms, they became an unstoppable force, launching unprecedented raids and expanding their territory. They also used their superior weaponry and equestrian skills to exert control over other indigenous tribes. However, their dependence on European resources also made them vulnerable to the forces that initially empowered them. Exposure to European influence led to the erosion of Comanche traditional values and customs, as well as the introduction of diseases that decimated their population. Ultimately, the influx of American settlers, conflicts, and resource depletion ended the reign of terror of the Comanches on the southern plains. The setting sun, the decline of Comanche dominance. The Comanche tribe began its decline due to external pressures from the advancing US Army and internal conflicts caused by the erosion of their traditional customs and values. The introduction of diseases by Europeans also greatly weakened the Comanche population. As their power waned, the Comanches were forced to negotiate with the US government, but treaties often failed to provide them with the support and resources they needed. Eventually, the remaining Comanche bands were relocated to reservations, marking the end of their dominance over the southern plains. Life on these reservations differed drastically from their nomadic existence, as they were required to abandon their traditional customs and adopt American customs. Despite these challenges, leaders like Juana Parker, a symbol of resistance and adaptation, worked to improve the lives of their people by advocating for education, economic opportunities, and the preservation of Comanche culture. The Comanche language served as an emblem with its unique characteristics and crucial role in transmitting the tribe's distinctive cultural identity, making it a distinct and useful tactical tool. Non-verbal communication, such as hand signals, was vital during hunting and warfare, while storytelling and poetic songs were used to preserve the tribe's history and beliefs. Whispers of the Wind. Exploring the Comanche language and communication. The transcript explains how the Comanche people adapted their language and incorporated new words and concepts from European settlers. Efforts are being made to preserve and revitalize the Comanche language for future generations through linguistic programs and educational resources. The rich history and culture of the Comanche tribe have been portrayed in various forms of popular culture, including literature, film, and art. However, these representations often simplified the complexity of Comanche culture and perpetuated stereotypes. There is now a growing movement to challenge and re-evaluate these portrayals, seeking more authentic and accurate representations. This shift in popular culture is crucial for fostering a deeper understanding of the tribe's history and culture with respect and complexity. Echoes of the Plains. The Comanches in the realm of popular culture. If in 1726 the number of Comanches was at least 1,500, by the mid-18th century, the population is estimated to have reached around 10 to 15,000 individuals. This was when they began to experience significant population growth, which must have peaked around 1780 when, before a smallpox epidemic spread, the population likely exceeded 40,000 people, surpassing the combined total of the Spanish colonies of New Mexico and Texas. For the period 1820 to 1840, various estimates converge on a population of between 20 and 30,000 inhabitants, while other major smallpox epidemics continued to affect the Comancheria, in addition to those in 1780 to 81, 1799, 1808, 1816, 1839, 1848, and 1851, with a significant cholera outbreak in 1849. Today, there are around 20,000 Comanches, many of whom live in Oklahoma. The leader of the last band to surrender at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, was a man named Quanah. Authorities later learned that Quanah was the son of a Comanche chief and a white captive named Cynthia Ann Parker, so he became known as Quanah Parker. Hundreds of people take pride in their affiliation with Quanah Parker, who is recognized for his leadership, especially during the challenging transition to life on reservations.